Shrooms. You know them, you love them, and today I'm going to show you the most efficient way to grow them. That's right, I built the most efficient, most profitable shroom farm that has ever been released. This bad boy pumps out 40 bricks a day, which is more than enough to keep both you and your dealers fully stocked up. Now, there's a few peculiar things about this build I want to go over before we dive into the tutorial. First, we aren't using triple additives. Instead, we're going to be using a combination of both fertilizer and PGR, so no speed grow. We all know that the botanists have 8 assignments, and if you use all of the additives, the botanist can only handle 5 mushroom beds, which sucks. You can't even assign them to drying racks because they just don't have the time. But if you combine fertilizer and PGR, each botanist can work the maximum number of 8 mushroom beds, so this is the most optimal and efficient combination. Plus, Fert and PGR combo has the lowest cost per shroom as well, so you also maximize profits. But there's another big change. You see, in the bungalow weed build, I showed you guys a build technique called backfeeding, where you route the pots back into the botanist supply shelf and they move the bud from the supply shelf over to the drying racks. Well, we aren't going to be doing that in this build. Instead, I'm going to introduce another build technique, the manifold. You see, in a traditional build, the harvested product goes from the pot directly to the drying rack. And in a backfeeding build, it goes from the pot back to the supply shelf, so the botanist that harvested the weed can take it to a drying rack. But in a manifold setup, it goes from the pots to a different botanist supply shelf, where the new botanist can then put it on a drying rack. This means that you have some botanists that are dedicated solely to growing, and you have some botanists that are dedicated solely to drying, and this is the most efficient setup, as long as the ratios line up, and thankfully for us they do, because the most optimal ratio for shroom beds to drying racks when using Fert and PGR is 1:1, so a manifold setup is the way to go. Here's the layout. We have 32 mushroom beds in the front for 4 of our botanists. Each one is going to get 8 mushroom beds. And then we have 30 drying racks in the back for our other 4 botanists. 2 of them will have 8 racks, and the other 2 will have 7 racks, plus one of the mushroom spore stations in the front. That leaves us with 2 leftover employee spots, which we're going to use for handlers. Now, the funny thing is that this farm actually only needs 5 handler routes. The sole reason we have to have a second handler is because one handler cannot keep up with the brick press by themselves. Like I said before, we just produce way too much product. This build is an absolute beast. Next up, we have a small storage closet right here for all the mushroom spore station supplies. And then right behind it, we have 2 huge storage closets, which are going to be the supply shelves for our botanists. Moving back, we have another huge storage closet, and this one's going to be used to hold all of our fully dried shrooms once they get to Heavenly. We also have a bunch of AC units, and of course a safe to hold our fully bricked and finished product. Now, I know there looks like a lot of large storage racks in this build, but honestly most of them are just for aesthetics. You can leave the ones on the perimeter out if you so choose, but I like having them in there just for the looks. This entire setup makes 40 bricks a day. Here's what you need to build it. 32 large storage racks, 9 medium storage racks, 10 small storage racks, 3 huge storage closets, a small storage closet, 32 mushroom beds, 30 drying racks, 10 AC units, 10 lockers, 2 mushroom spawn stations, 2 brick presses, a safe, 8 botanists, and 2 handlers, for a total cost of $57,775. If you're a little bit short on cash, you can actually drop most of the large storage racks like I mentioned earlier, and if you really need to save some money, you can drop the 8 AC units on the drying racks. Now, it will make the farm a lot less efficient, but it will save you around 15 grand, so you can just build out the farm without those AC units and then add them in later. And speaking of saving money, I'm going to be giving away 10 Schedule 1 related hats. All you have to do to enter is join my Discord. I'm going to be giving it away to 10 random people in the members list. To join, you can go to discord.gg/bigwilly or click the link in the description below and it'll take you directly there. Or if hats aren't really your thing and you want to get something else, you can check out all of my Schedule 1 merch at staysilly.shop. All of the profits go to charity, so you can look good and do good at the same time. Now let's get into the build, and buckle up because it's a long one. The first thing we got to do is build out the perimeter or the skeleton of our build. So go ahead and grab all of those supply racks and 4 of the AC units. We're going to head inside and immediately go to the left where we're going to build out the perimeter for our mushroom beds. Once that's done, head over to the other side and do the exact same thing. We're just building out the perimeter for the mushroom beds on the other side of the farm. Now that we got those out the way, we're going to head to the back and build out the back half of the perimeter. Now, this part is a little wonky and complicated, so it's probably best if you just watch me do it. It's a little bit difficult to explain, but essentially we're just going to be placing the racks along the back half of this barn, along with 2 AC units. Now, make sure you set these AC units to hot. These are going to be increasing the efficiency of our drying racks that we place back here. And we even get to build out a nice little break room for all of our employees to take a break during the middle of their shift. Just go along the staircase like this, placing down a few of these racks, and then you're going to mirror what you did before on the other side. Now, like I said at the beginning of this build multiple times, 90% of these large storage racks are not necessary. You don't need to put them down, but I absolutely hate the way the build looks without them. I kind of like having everything in a contained space, so I always make sure I put these in my builds. You see, when I make a build, I don't want it to just be the most functional, the most efficient, and the most profitable farm ever. I also want it to be aesthetic. Once you get it all placed down, you can head back outside and we can move on to the next part of the build, which is going to be placing down everything we need to actually grow shrooms. So grab your mushroom beds, 2 more AC units, and 2 mushroom spawn stations, and then head back into the barn. The first thing we got to do is place down the 2 spawn stations directly in the front of the barn. Then head over to the side and you're going to put down your mushroom beds in this kind of like horseshoe U-shape kind of thing, and then slap down an AC unit in the middle. Now this one you need to make sure is set to cold, otherwise the shrooms will not grow. After that, just put 4 more mushroom beds directly in front of it. Now head to the other side and do the exact same thing. Throw down a bunch of mushroom beds in a horseshoe, place down the AC unit, set it to cold, and then place 4 more mushroom beds directly in front of that AC unit. Now double check that the AC unit is actually set to cooling by pulling out your clipboard and pressing H to pull up the heat map. This will show you the temperature of all of your mushroom beds, and as long as none of them are above 15 degrees Celsius, you're good to go and can move on to the next part, which is going to be building out everything we need to fully dry and package our shrooms. So go ahead and grab those drying racks, 4 more AC units, 3 huge storage closets, 2 brick presses, a safe, and a small storage closet. Then head back into the barn and you're going to walk all the way to the back. You're going to place down 2 drying racks right here, skip a square, and place down 2 more drying racks. Then we're going to move on to the next row by skipping 2 squares in the middle, placing down 2 drying racks, skipping 1 more square, and placing down 2 more drying racks. Next, we're going to drop down 2 AC units right behind those drying racks, and make sure they're set to hot, not cold. And then get started on the 3rd row. Place down 2, skip a square, and place down 2 more. Alright, now we're going to do the other side, and it's basically the exact same thing. Place down 2, skip a square, place down 2. Place down 2, skip a square, place down 2 more. Place down the 2 AC units, make sure they're set to hot, and then place down 2 drying racks, skip a square, and place your other 2 down. And now that the hard part's done, just go in the middle and place down your last 6 drying racks exactly like this. You're done with the drying portion, and now we can move on to the packaging portion. So place a huge storage closet here to hold all of our dried shrooms. Turn around and place a brick press here and here, obviously to package it, and a safe here to hold our bricked product. Then you're going to place 1 huge storage closet to be the supply shelf for the botanists that are drying the shrooms. And then you're going to place another huge storage closet to be the supply shelf for the botanists that are growing the shrooms. Then just place the small storage closet to hold all of our supplies for the mushroom spawn station, and you're good to go. You've fully built out the entire mushroom barn farm, and it should look a little something like this. All we have left to do now is get our employees set up, assign some destinations, and let the magic happen. But before we get into the fun stuff, we have to do something that's incredibly annoying. We have to rename things, and we have to add filters. So let's head inside and do that. Now the filters on the small storage closet are going to be 3 for the spore syringe and 3 for the grain bag. Once you get done with the small storage closet, you can move on to the supply shelf for our main growing botanists. That one's going to have 5 slots for the mushroom substrate, 5 slots for the shroom spawn, 5 slots for PGR, and 5 for fertilizer. And thankfully, those are the only filters that this build has, so we can get on to renaming things now. Pull out your clipboard and rename the small storage closet to Spawn Station Supplies. Then rename the huge storage closet directly behind it to Botanist Supplies. And then go to the huge storage closet behind that and name it Harvested Shrooms. Now this huge storage closet in the back is going to be dried shrooms, and the safe is going to be called Finished Product. Now that the most annoying part is done with, we can move on to the fun stuff, like setting up the destinations for all of our equipment. The first thing we're going to set up is our mushroom spawn station, so go ahead and select both of them and set their destination to the botanist supply shelf. Then run off to the side, select all 16 of these mushroom beds. And we're going to add PGR and fertilizer as an additive. You can leave the spawn as any, it doesn't really matter. There's only one type of mushroom spawn. Then set the destination of those to this huge storage closet here. Next, you're going to have to go to the other side of the barn and do the exact same thing. Select the 16 mushroom beds, leave the spawn as any, and give it PGR and fertilizer. Then set the destination to that huge storage closet that we already labeled Harvested Shrooms. Now this huge storage closet is actually going to be the supply shelf for all of the botanists that are dedicated to drying, so just keep that in mind. Now the next thing you got to do is head all the way to the back of the barn and select all 30 drying racks, and there's a lot of them, so make sure you don't miss any. At the very end it'll say manage 30 drying racks. Open up the clipboard, set the target quality to heavenly, set the threshold to 20, and you're going to set the destination to the huge storage closet we labeled dried shrooms. Then head back outside so we can do the most important part of all, setting up our wonderful employees. We have 8 botanists and 2 handlers, but before we can give them their routes and assignments, we first have to give them lockers. And as always, I'm going to speed through this section really fast while you listen to elevator music. Great, now the first people we're going to set up is the botanists. Remember, we're going to have 4 that are dedicated to drying and 4 that are dedicated to growing. Let's start with the ones that actually produce the shrooms. So go ahead and grab one, set his supply shelf to that first huge storage closet, and then you're going to assign him 8 mushroom beds in a U shape just like this. Assigning them like this makes it so that he doesn't have to move around to actually harvest the shrooms. All he has to do is turn 90 degrees and he's ready to move on to the next one. Now you gotta go ahead and do that exact same thing with 3 more botanists. That way all 32 of the mushroom beds are fully assigned. So grab one, assign their supply shelf to that first huge storage closet, and then assign them 8 mushroom beds. Grab another, assign their supply shelf to the exact same huge storage closet, and then assign them 8 mushroom beds in a horseshoe. And finally, grab your fourth botanist and, again, do the exact same thing. Assign them their supply shelf, and then assign them the final remaining 8 mushroom beds. Now we can move on to the other 4 botanists that are in charge of drying. And we're going to start with the 2 that have 7 drying racks and 1 mushroom spawn station. So go ahead and grab one, assign their supply shelf to the second huge storage closet, turn around and give them that spawn station, and then head towards the middle of the back and assign them the drying racks in this zigzag pattern. And now we just got to copy that for the other side. So go grab a botanist, give them the second huge closet as a supply shelf, give them the spawn station on the other side of the barn, and then assign those 7 drying racks again in a zigzag pattern. Now our last 2 botanists are just going to have drying racks, so go ahead and grab one. Assign that second huge closet as a supply shelf, and then assign them 8 racks over here, again in a zigzag pattern. You see, the order in which you assign stuff actually does matter, so make sure you pay close attention. Go grab our last botanist, give him that second huge closet as a supply shelf, go to the other side, and, as always, assign the drying racks in a zigzag pattern. Head back outside and we can set up our wonderful handlers. Now, if you remember at the start of the video, I said we technically only have 5 routes for our handlers to do. Our build doesn't need more than 5 routes, but we do need more than 1 handler because 1 handler can't keep up with all of the bricks that we're going to produce. But hey, that's why we have 2 brick presses. Like I mentioned before, the order of your routes and assignments absolutely matters. So both handlers are going to have the same 5 routes, but one of them is going to have those routes reversed. That way we ensure maximum coverage and make sure that nothing gets missed. Go ahead and grab our first handler. You're going to set their routes to go from the dried shrooms to the brick press on the right. Their second route is going to be going from the loading dock to the first huge storage closet, or as we renamed it, the botanist supplies. And their third route is going to be going from the loading dock to the small storage closet that we labeled spawn station supplies. Their next 2 routes are going to be putting those supplies into the mushroom spawn stations. First the one on the right, and then the one on the left. And lastly, make sure you assign him that brick press on the right. Now go ahead and grab our second handler, and just like I said before, the routes are just basically reversed. You're going to go from the small storage closet titled Spawn Station Supplies to the Mushroom Spawn Station on the left, and then the Spawn Station Supplies to the Mushroom Spawn Station on the right. Your third route is going to be going from the loading dock to that small storage closet, and your fourth route is going to be going from the loading dock to the botanist supply shelf. Your last route is going to be going from the huge storage closet we titled Dried Shrooms to the brick press on the left. And again, make sure you assign them that brick press. And the last thing we gotta do is set the destination of the 2 brick presses to this safe right here. And that's it. You've just built the most efficient, most profitable, most optimal shroom barn build out there. All that we have left to do now is put on some finishing touches. You're going to order 30 fertilizer, 30 grain bags, 30 mushroom substrates, 30 PGR, and 30 spore syringes from Fungal Fill. You got to go upstairs and make sure all of your employees are paid. And if you feel like going the extra mile, you can set up your employees a little break room in the back, or you can give yourself a pimp pad. Now you can sit back, relax, and watch your farm pump out more bricks than you know what to do with. The botanist will roll in and immediately start growing those shrooms. They'll move it to the second huge storage closet, where the other botanist will pick it up and move it to the drying racks. Once it's dried, they'll move it to that closet, where the handlers will pick it up and move it directly into the brick presses, where it'll be turned into beautiful, finished product. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, I really appreciate your support. I'm sorry this video took me so long to get out. And as always, stay silly, y'all.